lot of times the director needs to kind of check in with the powers that be and say, look, here's the script that I shot. Here's the thing that I got. Here's what I have. And then do you have notes? He is the notes.
He's the notes. And I got to tell you something about this guy. And look, they're all brilliant. The Russo brothers were brilliant. I mean, Kevin Feige is the Wizard of Oz. I mean, the guy is, a genius. But Gunn, I got to tell you something. What comes out of his mind, like, it's rare that I've ever worked with a director-writer who I can't change a word. Like, I don't want to change it all. The guy is, I don't know, like, he must have 58 hours in a day.
Right.
Like, I don't know how he does it.
Okay, so I've been telling you guys last week that I'm excited to talk to this next gentleman again. He's part of one of my favorite movies of all time with Warrior, and he gets stopped on the street. People talked about him with him all the time with this movie, but he's doing so much just this week. This week, he's got Creature Commandos coming out on December 5th, and the next day he's got Werewolves coming out. And he's been in so much of. He's in Tulsa King season 2 right now, and he really is just an overall really a phenomenal actor, but a great guy to talk to. And I'm glad to have him on the show again. And that's the one and only Frank Grillo. What's up, Frank? How you doing?
Thanks, bro. That's a great introduction. I appreciate that.
I'm
great. I'm happy to talk to you again too. I watch all your interviews.
Oh, do you? Thank you so much. That's very.
I do, man. You have some great interviews and candid interviews and. So I'm a big fan too.
Oh wow, that's super kind. So I told you before we started shooting, I had to bring up our mutual connection. So I produce the former UFC welterweight champion Matt Serra's podcast. And
I love that effing guy, man. I love his energy. I love their podcast. I just did their podcast, and I've been a Matt Serra fan for 20 years, man.
You talk about candid. I mean,
but that's so new. Like, that's so New York. That is so the vibe of a real New Yorker.
Yeah.
It's like you just say it like it is, and you kind of either accept it or you don't, but you always know it's the truth. Oh, and that's great.
Oh, yeah. He's about it. I mean, even in his days when he was on Ultimate Fighter, like shit that he would say, like he's just because he's like real. I mean, like Matt Serra is real, and he'll tell you straight from the heart, like what he thinks. He doesn't hold back, and he's funny as hell too.
I know, man. To me, he's like every dude that I love that I grew up with, man.
100%.
He is the amalgamation of every guy that I grew up with. You know, they're all tough guys. They're, not obviously not UFC champions, but all my friends were tough dudes. They were all smart. They all went to Ivy League schools, but they were scrappers on the weekend. They were all great athletes, and they never told, something they never said anything that wasn't fucking almost to a fault.
Yeah. 100%. So I moved. I lived in LA for 25 years, and I moved back to New York. And so Matt and I became friends because he was a listener of Collider Live. And as you found out, I think on his show, he's like a massive geek.
Oh my God.
Massive.
I mean, he started getting into, I did Peacemaker. I just finished Peacemaker with Cena. He started getting into the genesis of the characters. And I'm like, bro, he goes, oh no, I'm a geek. I'm like, yeah, you're like Kevin Feige. Like, wow.
Yeah. He knows it all, dude. And that's why we did his show is literally called Geeking Out with Matt Serra. And
it's so funny. Yeah. I never put it together. Yeah. He really knows all the origin stories. Like it's amazing.
Well, let's start there, dude. Let's start with Creature Commandos because that's the start of it. And I've seen 6 of them. And
cool.
Yeah, I've seen 6 of them, and it's like, so are they gonna do? Because you're playing this character in live action, not just the voice.
Yes. Everybody who you see in Creature, if their character moves on to other movies and properties, it's the same person. Maria Bakalova and David Harbour and the whole crew, Steve Agee. I mean, Steve and I just did Peacemaker together, and I think he's moving on to do something else even. But yeah, Gunn called me. We had known each other in passing through Marvel stuff. And he said, man, I want to do something with you. I said, brother, just, call me and just tell me where to show up.
Yeah.
And to his credit, man, he called me, said, Peter Safran and I, we're taking over DC. This is what we're doing first. I'm going to send you the scripts. I go, listen, you can send me the scripts, but I'm doing it.
But I'm in.
I'm in,
Yeah.
man. And that started the relationship. And then I went on to do Peacemaker with Cena, who's a gem of a human being.
Yeah.
And then did Superman. You know, I got some stuff in Superman that it all kind of connects the universe.
I love that, and I want to talk to you about all that stuff because it's fascinating to me that, and then please correct me if I'm wrong in this, but this is what I've been saying on the show about James Gunn, is that when it comes to like these big movies normally, whether it's the Star Wars, the Marvels, whatever it is, a lot of times the director needs to like kind of check in with the powers that be and say, look, here's the script that I shot, here's the thing that I got, here's what I have, and then do you have notes? He is the notes.
He's the notes. And I got to tell you something about this guy. And look, they're all brilliant. The Russo brothers were brilliant. I mean, Kevin Feige is the Wizard of Oz. I mean, the guy is, a genius. But Gunn, I got to tell you something. What comes out of his mind, like, it's rare that I've ever worked with a director-writer who I can't change a word. Like, I don't want to change it all. The guy is... I don't know, like, he must have 58 hours in a day.
Right.
Like, I don't know how he does it, but, they're partners with Warner Brothers. They're on the Warner Brothers lot, but for the most part, him and Peter Safran, they've been partners a long time and they run it, man. They know what they got to do. And nobody's questioning them.
No, that's what I love.
They're not egregious with money.
Yeah.
They're not out there spending all kinds of crazy dough. They're really like, they did Peacemaker. I mean, not that it's a cheap show, but they do it on a budget, man. They know exactly what they're spending. And I love that about them. And they're just, it's been a great experience. And I'm humbled. I'm like, are you sure you called the right guy? Like, you want me to do this?
I'm surprised you feel that way though, dude. I really am, because
brother, and I don't say this to say it to sound like, false humility. I'm amazed. I really am amazed that you're going to call, like, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing. Like, I know what I'm capable of. It's like being a fighter. It's like, you want that shot at the title. I've been ranked in the top 15 for a long time.
I get it. Yeah.
But you want the shot at the title.
Yeah.
And so until then, I kind of feel invisible. I really do. And I'm always really lucky. I feel really lucky when somebody offers me a movie or a TV. Sly called me on a Sunday morning to say, I want you to come do this with me. I'm like,
fucking cool.
Wait a minute. Does he think he's calling me? I don't know.
Right.
Is he calling
Statham?
Brolin?
Yeah.
Is he calling Statham or Brolin or one of those fucking guys? I'm like, do you know what I mean? And so I do. It's I guess because it's all kind of, I always feel like I'm coming through the back door. Like, no one's let me in the front door.
Yeah.
And so with Gunn, this has been like an amazing ride. And I'm starting to settle in now because I think he really meant to call me and not Brolin. So.
Right. Well, I get that, but I do, and I will say it, and I do think, of course, I think you're 100% in truthful. I don't think you're trying to be false, modest, and all that stuff, because I think that I think that's the reason people really respond to you, though, Frank, is because, like, every time you see whatever it is, it's like, oh, Frank Grillo's in it. That's awesome. That's great.
That's great. I love it, man.
It's true.
I mean, I love to hear that, and I am still tickled, and it happens every day. Every single time someone comes up and says, hey, Frank, I'm like, wow, man, you're really paying attention. And I'm cool. Like, it's just not lost on me. I wasn't famous when I was 20 years old. It's like this started to happen like little by little after Warrior. I was, 40 something, it was like, so to me, it's all like I had another life and now there's this life.
It's cool though, man. And it's like there's so much, and I'm trying. I want to stay on course because I want to talk to you about, obviously, with Warrior. I want to talk to you about so much, but when it comes to Creature Commandos and what you're doing there, so when he calls you up, because that was my first question, you kind of answered it, was that, is this one of those things we have to audition? And clearly not. He calls you up and he says, hey, I want you to be in this thing, and you're like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I'm in it. And does he explain to you to say, okay, look, so when you are coming on to this, we're going to go from here, and here. He already has this mapped out. How does he explain the character of Rick Flag Sr.?
Yeah, he said, look, he sent me the first 6 scripts, and he goes, read them, call me. So I read them all, obviously in a day, and they were magnificent. I was like, oh my God, this is, first of all, it's an animated series, but it's an R. It's R.
Yeah, it is.
And the language is heady, and there's some sex stuff in there, and there's a lot of violence, unapologetic.
All in the first episode, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, all in the first episode.
Yeah.
And I called him and I said, dude, this is amazing. He goes, yeah. He said, I said, can you send me some backstory? He goes, I don't want you to worry too much about backstory. Rick Flag is not a prominent figure in the, so he goes, but I'm going to send you something. And he sent me like 10 pages. And he goes, but I want you to do you, man. I want you to kind of bring me, you, in Rick Flag Sr. And that's what we've done. And it's been so much fun, brother. It's been such a different experience. To be part in this like embryonic stage of development for DC, and then to kind of just be the connective tissue in different properties. It's like being Sam Jackson in Marvel.
Yeah, well, that is what I was going to tell you. I was going to ask, because like it does seem in this, as you say, it's starting up, because DC has had this road, right, where they wanted to catch up at first. It seemed like when they were trying, because they had the Nolan movies, and the Nolan movies were grand, but they wasn't part of this connected universe. Marvel starts doing a connected universe, and they're like, well, we need that. We need to do that. And they jumped too far ahead, and they wound up doing the Batman v Superman. It's like, no, build. And then that's why I asked about James Gunn, because he's been in that system. He understands it. And it looks like already, like you just said it, to be part of it when it's starting. So what do you think the tone is from what you've seen so far, what we're about to see in the new DCU?
I think that it's tonally very, you mentioned Batman. It's tonally, it's got this really dark, grounded feeling about it. But because it's Gunn, it's got a lot of levity.
Right.
Gunn is very good, obviously, with things like Guardian. He knows how to be funny at the right time. So, which I think that's the element that you must have. I really do, because if it gets too overbearingly dramatic, you kind of lose a little bit of what it's about. So it's that it's really steeped in reality. So when I'm reading Creature Commando scripts, I'm not thinking this is an animated series. This is real, right? And when you watch it and you listen to the voicing, it sounds real. I mean, you get connected to the characters. The word connected is really his mantra, because what he wants to do is have the audience connect to a character, and then you are the character throughout the whole thing.
I love that.
So that you're building audience.
Yeah.
And that's what they have to do. The way Marvel did, slowly, they need to build a committed, dedicated audience.
Yep. You're welcome. Yep. I gave you the gift of Via. That's right. And I'm going to give it to you again. If you want to break from the crowded stores and endless gift lists, you restore your zen and you embrace the natural power of cannabis this holiday season with Via. This holiday season, you got to unwind, you recharge with Via. Whether you're enjoying a quiet evening at home or embracing the festive cheer, Via's premium THC and THC-free gummies will help you find your perfect holiday balance. Via is well renowned for their award-winning THC and THC-free gummies, and they legally ship to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. There's no medical card required. Right now, Via is having a huge holiday sale. For a limited time, you can save up to 25% off of site-wide, plus up to 50% off select items and bundles. So if you are 21 and up, check out our link to Via's website in the description. I absolutely love Via. There's so many different things. It does feel like Christmas when you get it. Anyway, my favorite one is the sleep one. I really dig it. It's wonderful. Really nice dreams. Use that code Kristian for 25% off. And after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. You got to support our show, and you tell them that we sent you this holiday season. Enhance your everyday with Via. I've told you about Rocket Money, guys, and the reason why for Rocket Money was so important is that I for a long time, I used to do these things where I'd be on my phone and I'd start searching for these apps. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll sign up. Oh, for free? Yeah, it's free for now. But then it's going to be $20, $30 a month, and you forgot that you're even paying it. And I was like, oh, well, this Rocket Money lets you know about what subscriptions that you have that you're not paying attention to. It can cancel subscriptions for you. It really is amazing. And it just cuts so much time out of my schedule. And I love it because you don't even know how much you're paying in subscriptions. And you're probably paying way more than you think, because over 74% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about. And I definitely did that. I can tell you that right now. Like there was a couple of, I'm telling you, some of these apps, I tried some of these apps and I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot all about it. You think you spend around 62 per month on subscriptions, something like that, but it's close to about 300. You're close to about 300 a month, because Rocket Money is also, it's a personal finance app, and it cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors all of your spending, and it helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Everyone that's using it, 500 million in canceled subscriptions. Wow. It saves about $740 a year. It's great. So stop wasting money on things that you don't use. You just cancel your unwanted subscriptions. You go to rocketmoney.com/thing, rocketmoney.com/thing. Very easy. rocketmoney.com.
Well, I was going to say what you said actually on Unfiltered was that the idea that they're putting the voices in there, and I love that. I don't really remember a time where like the animated thing comes out first and then the movie comes out. Normally it's like, oh, they happen to get so and so to come back to do the voice. It's like, no, this is the guy that did the voice first, and then he's going to show up.
Yeah, and they got great actors. I mean, really great actors to do it. I mean, Viola Davis and David Harbour and Maria Bakalova.
Totally.
It goes, Alan Tudyk. I mean, great fucking actors.
Yeah, everybody wants to work with Gunn.
Yeah, everybody wants. There you go. He's a talent magnet.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to work with Gunn, and he's so much fun to work for and with. And Peter Safran, who's his counterpart, who really kind of runs the day to day. Also, just like he just sent me. I guess we're 100% on Rotten Tomatoes so far.
Amazing.
Creature Commandos. So he just sent me. So it's a good vibe with these guys, man. And we were in New York for Comic-Con. I took James and Peter and I went out to dinner, and it's just a good vibe. It's a good group of dudes, and you want to do well for them,
right?
Because you know what I mean. It's
100%. So I worked for Joe Silver, dude. So like and then I remember being in a room, and I didn't feel like he was listening. And I'm like, and it felt like, and then I remember when there was like this premiere party it was like for V for Vendetta or some shit. I can't remember what it was, but either way, it was like everybody was working really hard. And then I remember all the employees were like, nobody got freaking party passes, like only like the top executives. And like, and everybody's pissed off, and they finally did. But I'm like, I remember thinking a little moment like that. I'm like, people get pissed off, and why do they want to work for you? And it's like, if people are laughing and you care, like look at you were. I talked to you last time, and you're always like a great person to talk to, and you're excited about your projects. You're glowing about this stuff.
No, brother, and I've been going, and they've had to calm me down. I do get a little excited because I'm so excited to be doing what I'm doing. He showed us a little bit of the trailer for Superman, and I'm sure I probably wasn't supposed to say anything, but I was doing press, and a couple of people that asked me said things about Superman. I go, oh my God! I just kind of blurted it out. I said, I got to tell you, I saw a little bit of the trailer. I got goosebumps. I was like getting hot flashes. Superman's the one superhero that I followed as a kid was Superman. So it felt nostalgic, and right away it gets taken out of context.
Yeah.
And I'm blowing. It's got so. That's the other thing. I don't think anybody's listening to me, and so I'll say things from the gut or from the heart. And there's these people out there that they're waiting to attach to anything negative.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden I've blown the veil of secrecy about. I'm like, no, I'm just saying.
You said it was a good trailer. You had goosebumps, and you said that Corenswet is the real deal.
Yeah, end of story.
Yeah, that was it. And then I mean, and you can tell me if I say like because you said that's all I want to talk about it with. It's fine, because I was going to ask you about like the tone of it. Is that because I'm a Superman guy also? I was just watched. Oh, by the way, before I even ask you that, did you see the Christopher Reeve documentary?
I'm about because I knew we had the same acting coach in New York.
Really?
Yeah, and I knew him a little bit. I was in awe of him, but I'm about to watch that. Yeah.
I mean, bring your tissue box, man. Holy shit.
I heard. And his son,
Oh
His
yeah,
son is a little piece in
I know.
Superman.
Yeah, he
which
talked
is
about it, which is
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah.
So that was like Superman was for me. Superman 1. I still have the card somewhere. I gave my dad 1983. I gave my dad the card Superman 3. I said, Dad, can we go see it for Father's Day? Can we see Superman 3? Or Richard Pryor have it somewhere.
Are you kidding?
I was like, I love Superman. So like
Me too, man.
Christopher Reeve was my guy. So when you say, and again, don't get yourself in trouble. I just want to, as far as like, when it comes to Corenswet, like, what is it about him that you said when you say he's a real deal? What is it about Corenswet that we should be excited about?
Yeah, look, Henry Cavill, beautiful dude. I mean, the guy, he like God touched him on the shoulder and said, "I'm going to make you handsome and big." Right? With David, there's something very Christopher Reeve about him. There's a stoicism. He's got a stoicism, and there's a seriousness. I think they both went to Juilliard.
Oh, wow.
I think they did. I think Christopher Reeve went to Juilliard.
Christopher Reeve definitely did.
So did David.
Okay.
And they are very serious actors.
That's good.
And first of all, I'm 5'10". The guy stepped out of from behind the curtain with the suit on, and I was like, "Oh my God, you are Superman!" That's cool. And so I think he encompasses this aura that is, Superman to me was never morally derelict. Like, Superman stood for something.
Yeah.
And he was steadfast, and there was a naivete and a vulnerability about him when I was watching Superman as a kid. And there's something about this guy. There's something about, I don't know if I could articulate it, but I was like, oh, this guy's Superman. Like, he's Superman.
well, isn't that? And that's also what Gunn does really well, is casting. He is a casting, like, oh my God, the way he casts movies. I remember when we were trying to like play like a guessing game of who we thought could be in these roles. I was hoping for Brosnahan as Lois, and it went down. So there's other. But there's so many times that he just casts so well. So I didn't know Corenswet, and when they were showing the pictures, I didn't know anything about him. All I saw was that guy looks like Superman. Yeah. So it's interesting.
I think every great director, the gift is the cast. They know how to cast.
Yeah.
Their job is 90% done when they cast the actor they want. The rest of it, they know is going to be brought by the actor. And there'll be a little bit of tweaks. Stand there, turn your face this way. The light's better over here. But otherwise, there's very little directing going on.
Sure.
And that's the same thing with James. He hires the right people. He wants them to do their thing and elevate whatever it is they're doing. And then every once in a while, he'll give you a note. You know. But he's done his job when he's cast you.
It's really, really well done. And so you were talking about how much fun you guys were having when you went to dinner. You did all those things too, and how the vibe felt good. But is there, obviously people want to do well. You said it yourself, you want to do well for them and all that. Is there that feel though, from whether it's from Creature Commandos leading into Peacemaker, leading into Superman, is there that feel that there is a lot of spotlight on you guys because you are starting it off, because Superman is the one that's got to hit. I mean, it's got to hit, because it's like, if Superman doesn't hit, it's like, well, what do we do now? That's our staple piece. So is that pressure there too, or you don't even notice it?
It's you don't notice it. You really don't notice it, because his vibe is not that.
I love that.
I mean, it's not. And so you're not kind of burdened with any of that by him or anybody else.
Yeah.
And which is great. It's really it's a fun set. Any set I've been on with him, it's a fun set. It really is. And he makes it light. And this guy knows exactly what he means. He's cut the movie he knows exactly what he's doing at all times. And for me, I've done a lot of small movies where I got to watch everything, because at the end of the day, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that the director might be too green. I'm afraid the DP doesn't really know what he's doing.
Sure.
The sound guy's got the mic, holding it down. And so there's a lot to watch out for, because I don't want to look bad. Right. I can just show up, put my costume on, and go do my thing. Man.
I love that.
And to me, that's such a gift.
Yeah.
And every once in a while he'll say to me, I'll say to him, "Hey, all good." He goes, a little less Pauly Shore. I'm like, God.
Amazing.
No offense to Pauly.
No, none. I'm sure he wouldn't take any with that. But so tell me then when you're going from doing the voice. Well, I can start with the voice, right? When you're doing the voice, because some people do it differently. Are they doing where you're in the room back and forth with the people, or are you just recording your voice and then they kind of sync it up?
Mostly you're recording your voice.
Okay.
And you're not seeing anything, right?
Right.
So it's just you're reading lines. I got to do it with David HArloff.
That's what I was going to ask, because you guys worked on End to Watch together.
We worked on End to Watch together. I'm such a big Harbor fan. He
Yeah.
is a phenomenal actor, phenomenal dude. So we got to do our stuff together.
Cool.
But by the way, this guy came in to do Frankenstein, and I felt like a fraud. Like, he was so good, and I thought, because I'm playing kind of the straight guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I got to keep it grounded in reality while these wacky things come in. And then I did Maria Bakalova and I did ours together.
Okay.
We had our sex scene together.
Did you really? How does that work?
So we would be making out with our arms and groaning like we're, it's
That's hilarious.
Euphoria.
Yeah.
And I know Maria too, because we were going to do a film together before as well. But we had a ball. It was
fun.
great. But the rest of it was kind of solo. And,
Okay.
And it's again, I don't do a lot of voice work, so I did a little bit with Marvel and some before. But you really got it. It's a fine line between being too campy or not giving enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you really got to find your rhythm.
Well,
it's really.
Yeah, and it's the rhythm's there for sure, because it does remind me, and I haven't given my thoughts on it yet because I literally just watched the episodes, but it has like that. I mean, clearly the Suicide Squad feel to it, and it links up to that, and that's why when you asked James as far as how much backstory, and I wonder leading into Peacemaker, because he recently just came out and said that lots of stuff from Peacemaker is indeed canon to this universe, and I would assume then, because your character mentions in the animation that your son is no longer with us, that happened in the Suicide Squad. So in essence, I guess that means that movie's canon too.
Right. And my existence in Peacemaker, again, I don't want to give anything away, but my existence there and my kind of what motivates my character has a lot to do with what's happened in the past with my son.
Yeah.
A lot of that, those driving forces are my son not being on the alive. So, and that has a little bit to do with a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So it's all tied in. It's really wild how it's all connected.
And I love that's how he's making that work. Now, when you are in that outfit, so how close to what you look like in the animated are we going to see in both Peacemaker and Superman?
Couple things. So my job, in Creature, I am the leader of these creatures. It's so to speak. I'm still a soldier.
Yeah.
So when I move over to Peacemaker, by now I've graduated from that. I've got promoted. So I'm more of an administrator in charge of everything.
Okay, but you're still going to have the silver dome.
No silver dome, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I got some silver. I got sides that
okay.
are silver. While I was shooting Tulsa King, they started Peacemaker.
Okay. So you couldn't.
So I could not chop my hair. Like my hair now would be how I would have my hair, only I'd make it white, right?
Yeah, right.
But when I was on Tulsa King, my hair was slicked back. Yep. So I had to do kind of a hybrid.
I see.
My hair, it's become Hairgate.
Yeah.
And then also I did a piece on Superman while I was shooting Tulsa King. So I was all over the place.
I see.
So the hair had to kind of fit in.
No one's going to give a shit.
I don't. That's the problem. I've not done my job well.
Yeah, no one's going to give a shit. So I was just curious about that. But then you lead into working. So without, again, giving anything away, you mentioned working with John Cena, because I'll tell you, somebody who won me over, man. Like I always thought John Cena was, because I don't know if you're, you can remember this, but I wrote for the WWE a while ago, and it wasn't when he was there. It was like Attitude Era, but I always paid attention to what he was doing. He was one of the biggest stars in the world. When he transferred over into the movies, I was like, there was a performance here, a performance there. I was like, okay, fine. It was Peacemaker, though, in the Suicide Squad. I said, holy shit, that guy's for real. Like the comedy, the timing. What was it about him that you know, had you met him before?
Never. I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I don't follow wrestling.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I know the Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, right.
And I know the Rock was in the WWE, but I never saw him. And I've heard Cena's name. I knew Cena from a little movie I saw called The Wall with Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Okay.
Who's another terrific actor. And it was just the two of them in this movie about a sniper who had them held behind this wall. If you haven't seen it, it's really worth the watch.
We'll check it out.
And I remember saying to my brother, I said, who's this guy, John Cena? My brother said, you're so stupid. My son said, you're so dumb, Dad. It's John Cena. He's the biggest wrestler in the world. I went, he is? And that was my introduction to him.
Sure.
Cut to, I'm at dinner with my girlfriend because I had just gotten to Atlanta to start Peacemaker. And I go to pay, and my bill's paid. And John Cena was sitting in the restaurant. He saw me, and he paid my bill, and he came over. And that was my introduction to John Cena. I went, that's a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't, there's no reason for him to do that. And I'm going to tell you something. And I know it's like when I'm going to gush a little bit. This guy is special.
Yeah.
He is special. I watched him work. He's a natural actor. Gunn was exactly right about picking him. He's a natural actor. And his sense of humor is dry and on point. He's incredibly brilliant. He's incredibly accomplished. And I don't know that anybody could say a bad thing about John Cena. That's the kind of guy he is. He's just like a family guy. He lives in Florida. I'm like, it's like, wow, why aren't I like him? I want to be John.
he is a phenomenal talent. And it's funny because you said you were into the wrestling. I'm going to make a prediction because I feel like you guys hit it off.
Yeah.
He's coming back for like one last run.
Don't I know it?
I know. And I think you're going to wind up being front row at one of these WWE
without
events.
a doubt. I'm going to go watch John Cena at his best.
Yeah, it'll be great. I'll tell you about AG1. I've told you about AG1, and it's the best time to tell you about AG1 because it's the holiday season. And it is so hard, I'm telling you from experience, to stay motivated and to eat healthy during the holidays. It's always a challenge. So for me, what I make sure that I do, I have AG1 when I start off during the day. I know that if I'm going to have all my vitamins in one shot, I got AG1. Before AG1 was a part of my daily routine, I was all over the place. I was scattered, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do vitamins, but it takes 75 and different things and mix and match. It was a mess, so I couldn't do it. So for me, as you guys have seen, you guys have been so kind and complimenting. You're like, oh, I can tell you've lost weight. You look healthy. AG1. The travel packs are great too, because if I don't have the morning routine for some reason gets thrown off, I'm like, oh man, I got the travel pack. I'm on the train. I put it in a water bottle. Done. What's so good about AG1 is it just sleep quality, more energy. It's wonderful. Try this new year. Try AG1 for yourself. It is the perfect time to start a new healthy habit, and that's why I've been partnering with them for so long. They've been with us since I started this show. And AG1 is offering new subscribers free $76 gift when you sign up. You get a welcome kit, you get a bottle of D3K2, and you get 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/bigthing to get this offer. That is drinkag1.com/bigthing to start your new year on a healthier note. You will thank me, I promise. So many comments lately about everybody that's buying the Tushies, and I see why you're buying them. I'm so excited to get you guys to get a Tushy that I almost thought about doing this from the bathroom, but then I was like, no, I want you to get it. It's terrible. That's a terrible thing for me to do, but I want to do it because I want to show you how much I love the Tushies. Check this out alone. Look at this. Just open up the toilet lid. You spray the water right in your tush. It's wonderful. Look at that. That's how it works. It's that easy. You put it on the toilet. You open it up. You spray the water on your butt. It's lovely. It's going to change the way that you think about cleaning up after a spicy dump in a coffee shop or a porta potty during a music festival. You're going to want to take Tushy with you everywhere, and thankfully you can, because The Tushy Travel, it's collapsible, it's durable, and discreet portable bidet that gives you the most confident clean on the go. I keep telling people about these things. Everybody are getting the Tushies now, and everyone's like, oh, man, can I use your code? Can I use your code? Of course you can. It's the best. I got one. I've got 2 in my house right now, and it is so wonderful. We feel classy in this house. It's got a 3-stream nozzle for a total clean. It's got a new air mesh bag for discreet travel, faster dry time. It comes in 5 new colors. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and 12-month warranty. So stop wiping until you bleed. Join the 2 million butts who have already made the switch to Tushy. For a limited time only, our listeners get 10% off your entire order, but you got to use that code BIGTHING. 10% off Hello Tushy, HELLTUSHY.com with the promo code BIGTHING. So I'm excited for that stuff, man. The DC is really it's getting exciting again. So I'm glad to see that because I loved Peacemaker season 1. I was excited to hear it's coming back. The fact that it's canon, all those different things, and what you're talking about. You're getting me hyped for Superman. You're getting me hyped even more so to finish Creature Commandos. And then that comes out. That's on the 5th. And then on the 6th, you got a movie coming out.
Yeah, Werewolves. Which I got to tell you, you never know. Under the title of You Never Know, this was a little $8 or $10 million movie, perfect for streaming. It was basically The Purge meets Werewolves.
Yep.
I mean, that's what attracted me to it. I said, this is a 98-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle. I know how to do this. We can make this really good. It'll be a great streaming movie. But to their credit, the producers, Miles Nestel and his company, they put a lot of money into the post. They saw we had something good.
Right.
They made it exponentially better in post with sound, with coloring the thing, and it turned out to look like a $30 or $40 million movie. And again, being a 98-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle, people saw it and goes, "Oh, we can do this theatrically," and it's in 2,000 theaters plus.
That's crazy.
Against Gladiator and Wicked and this, and so it's like the little engine that could. I don't know if there's people will show up, but they're doing a lot of promoting, and it is a fun movie. It's practical.
It's 80s style, man. It's old school 80s practical effects, like The Thing. It's got that stuff because I'm telling you, when I was watching this right away, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this is. From this,
of course,
from the second it starts, you get Lou Diamond Phillips. From the second Lou Diamond Phillips is there, you're like, I know exactly what this is. But it tells you, it goes, here's the deal. The werewolves come out when the full moon. Everybody's turning into it's a thing, and you're like, okay, great. And then they introduce you to you, and then shit goes down.
Right. And I got to fix it. Yeah, and that's what I love. Listen, I love doing kind of complex, cool stories too, and but this is what it is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's a couple of slices of white bread, some ham, some American cheese, and a little bit of mayo. Yeah. And you cut it in half, and there you eat both half, and there you know exactly what it is.
And you rub your belly afterwards. It's 100%. And as I'm watching this, because I was like, let me see. I feel like I know exactly what the creatures are going to look like, and God, I hope they do. And they did. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'm watching like something from 1985, and I'm like watching. I'm like, oh, and it's like, and you even get a couple of Arnold one-liners in there, which is perfect. And we played with the one-liners because I'm like, this has got to be a Arnold or Bruce Willis or Sly. You got to have the one-liners. It's got to, we got to have a couple of those because you're going to want to play homage to these movies that I loved. And we had these 7-foot performers, these dudes, both named Ian, oddly, and a bunch of other guys. And Alex Gillis made the costumes. He made Predator and Pumpkinhead and Alien. I mean, this guy's the top of the food chain. Yeah.
So they kind of, for what it is, it's not pretending to be anything else. I mean, we just saw sharks in the Coliseum with Gladiator.
Yeah.
The CGI is great, but it's like, okay, I know I'm watching CGI. It's it is what it is.
You're being nicer than I didn't think the CGI looked good at all.
I know.
You're being nice.
I know. I want to know what Russell Crowe thought.
I know.
But anyway, so it's a departure from that. It's a simple, like The Purge. It's kind of a simple story. Get them from point A to point B. And look, if it works, we got a couple of more ideas for a few more of them. If it doesn't, you'll see it on the airplane.
But I'll tell you, here's why this movie is really important, is because I talk about this, Frank, on my show all the time. Studios
overspend on everything, right? Now, look, I get it. If Superman's going to wind up costing $200 million, I get it. I don't love it, but I get it. There's certain movies when you look at the budget, and there's movies like $250 million, and like, oh, they barely made money, and they made $400 million. You're like, what are you doing? And like these smaller movies, if a movie like what you're doing with Werewolves, and look at Terrifier 3.
I was just gonna say, movies like Terrifier and Smile and things like that. I mean, these genre movies that the more serious cinephiles are gonna poo-poo all the time, but this is an important part of movie making, and cinema experience. People want to go to the movies. They don't want to watch this at home. People want to go to the movies and watch Werewolves.
Yeah, right.
They do.
Right.
And so you don't have to spend, look, they just spent $350 million on Brad Pitt's F1 movie.
Right. Wow.
$350 million.
But how do they make a profit on that? I mean, how are you going to get that movie's going to make it's going to make like $1 billion?
No, it's not.
There's no way.
There's no way to mitigate your risk. I mean, it used to be, you had DVD sales, you had all that stuff. That's gone.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how they do it. I mean, it's great to be Brad Pitt, but I love doing, not that I wouldn't love to do F1. I love doing movies like this. It's a challenge,
Sure.
It's a challenge to keep it real, to make sure the script is as good as it could. My job is to entertain people, and I take that fucking seriously. Like, the worst thing I could hear is, that movie sucked. I'm like, I disappointed. So many people would show up to watch this movie, or even put it on in their house, and they shut it off. And it's like, I didn't do my job. I didn't,
But I think sometimes, not with this movie, but I think that sometimes that isn't necessarily true, because like you can still be in a movie that's not the best, and if people are saying, because I've heard that with not just with you, but with other people, where it's like, that movie was fine, but man, Frank Grillo was awesome in it. Or man, so-and-so was great.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. But it is, by the way, it's better than getting a stick in the eye.
Right.
But the reality is, I know I'm always going to do my job, because that's all I know how to do, because I don't know what talent is. I don't know who has talent, or I know what hard work is. I know how to do this job. I know when I get a script, what I need to do to be as good as I could possibly be in this movie, right? And I don't ever not do that. So I know I'm going to deliver what I have to deliver. Yeah. The rest of it is up to everybody else. I don't know what actor's showing up because he got a payday and he doesn't give a shit really. And, he's looking at his sides the day of the thing, and there's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
But, this movie Werewolves was not that. Everybody showed up and did a really cool job because it felt like something cool.
It took me back. It really did take me back. And I felt like I was watching one of those old school movies. Like I was like, you don't find movies like this anymore, where you can just this is something that I would discover with my friends when I was like 13 years old.
I know.
And I'm like, yeah, just Frank Grillo kicking werewolf ass and trying to just do this. And like the practical effects, and like you're laughing and you're having a good time with it. And you're like, oh wait, here comes the one-liner. There it is.
And look, and I have 3 sons, and they're all movie guys, but there's so much shit that we've been dealing with in this world. I don't know about you, but since COVID, and there's elections and wars and this and that, we're so divided. There's so much negative and nasty, and everybody's got an opinion about something, and if you say one thing, they're baiting something else, and it's like, this is just pure, unadulterated. I'm gonna watch Frank Grillo fight werewolves.
That's it.
And I'm not going to expect anything else.
Yeah, and has there been a werewolf apocalypse movie? I don't even know.
I don't think so.
I don't think there has.
There was Dog Soldiers. Remember that movie?
Yeah, it was this is like Dog Soldiers meets The Purge, for sure.
The Purge.
For sure.
That's actually good. Dog Soldiers meets The Purge.
For sure. But but I just like the idea when it starts, I'm like, oh, interesting. It's like, okay, for like once shit goes down, everybody turns into werewolves. All right, let's do it.
I know. It's funny, brother. Like, at my age now, and my peers, speaking about Brolin, he's doing a book tour, and I'm watching him talk about his book, and I just was watching Christian Bale. He's doing another serious movie, and somebody else, and I'm like, should I be doing other things?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, am I too old? I'm like, should I be more doing things that are more depressing. I don't know.
No, but I mean, but see, this is again where and we can I'll take it there then, because like where you mentioned beforehand how you started to realize more people coming up to you and talking to you like with Warrior, right? Because I was going through and I was looking at some of the stuff that you had done before, and I was like, oh yeah, I do remember. I remember that. And then, but Warrior was the one like I just did, and Matt mentioned to you on the show. So I do like I'll do full reactions to movies on it. I introduced Warrior to my friend Sam. And
right.
she had never seen it before. She hadn't even heard of it. And I'm like, you got to watch this. She cried, dude, like 5 different times. She kept texting me about the movie. She's showing it to her boyfriend. I told her today you were coming on. She was geeking out because she loves the movie so much. And like that movie, that's a dramatic one, right? It took a lot of stuff that you're passionate about with jiu-jitsu and other things.
Oh yeah.
And so it's what the type of career that I think that you're blessed to have is the fact that you can do Werewolves today, and you could do something like that tomorrow, and nobody would say, "Oh, what's he trying to do now?" You believe it?
No, you're exactly. This is all. We have things in our heads that we tell ourselves that aren't actually true,
right?
But we live by these thoughts that we have, which is it gets dangerous. I've done 67 or 70 movies. I've done probably 20 amazing dramatic movies, little movies. Whether it's with Juliette Binoche and Morgan Freeman or, really heavy, cool shit.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to see those movies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
They're not theatrical enough to be in theaters, or they're in 30 theaters.
Right.
Do you know?
Yes.
So I do those movies, and I'm like, when I'm done, I'm like, okay, it's great to do this, but if nobody sees it, right, you might as well be doing plays in your basement for your family.
Yeah.
The truth is, it's great to do it. I love making movies, but I go do a movie like The Purge,
right?
And I can't walk down the street the next day.
Right.
I go, oh my God, like people freak out about this.
Yeah.
And so even like with Marvel, now there's an example of, I was on screen the first time, maybe half the movie, right? I wasn't even Crossbones yet, right? The second time I was on screen for 13 minutes, I was Crossbones.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
That was it. You would think I was in this movie 8 times, and it was about Cross. That's how the impact that it had. And that kind of opened my eyes to, just because there's some feeling inside that I want to get satisfied as an artist, that has nothing to do with people who watch.
Right. No, it's true. Well, it's the difference. Look at streaming. What streaming has done now to a lot of those movies, like as you mentioned with Werewolves, where they thought it was going to go to streaming first,
right?
Because that's where the smaller films normally will hit now at this point.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Wait. Thank God, because that's a global audience.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I was just in Serbia. It was as if I was Elvis Presley. I mean, there were movies that hit in Serbia that they liked, and there was like, oh my God. So thank God for streaming. I mean, streaming's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
But there's nothing more powerful than a movie that's successful in the theater.
I know. Yeah,
it's just larger than life.
I was so mad that Warrior didn't do that type of business, because I disagree with Dana White. I disagree with Dana White when it comes to, because I understand, and I said this to Sam when we were watching it. I said Dana doesn't love this movie. And I said the reason.
No, Dana hates the movie.
He hates the movie, but I think that there was
I'm friends with Dana. I love Dana.
But I've heard your reasoning of why he hates it. Right? It's because of, at the time, it was one of the reasons I hated most MMA movies, and you and I spoke about this last time, was that the David Mamet stuff, when he, even with Black Belt, like that was like crime elements and all this stuff, and it had never been taken seriously. And in 2011, it is just starting to pop with the UFC. So they weren't doing those tournaments anymore, those in the days things.
Of course not. And Dana was fighting for his life on the daily,
right?
His professional life. I mean, he pulled the UFC out of death.
Yeah.
Probably a half dozen times.
Yep.
Those Furtado brothers, they wanted to shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
I mean, and he said, he's the guy who had the vision, the singular vision of what this could be. I mean, now look at it. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But, I get it, because he was trying to also create a brand, and there was, he was trying to get, a lot of the states wouldn't allow MMA into the,
it was illegal in New York. It was illegal.
Yeah. So anything that put it in a light that might be questionable, I could see him
Yeah, but I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that with this movie. This movie was like
I didn't either.
And I watched it again. No. It was like maybe I hasn't watched it in a while. I don't know, but like the story, I've seen it. I mean, even every time Nolte shows up, hey Tommy, I'm like I'm in. I'm in every single time. And so I heard are you still pretty tight with Gavin?
Oh yeah, he's one of my oldest and closest friends.
So I read something with him that he was talking about because they asked him about Warrior 2, and he's like, I don't know if I could do a Warrior 2 movie. I just don't know how I would do that, but I would do a TV show. And
which he's doing.
Is he definitely doing that?
Yeah, and I think DC is actually going to be in it. He's got a couple of fighters that are going to be in it.
Okay,
which is ironic. I mean, DC is one of the voices of the UFC.
Yeah,
and he's going to do it as a television show. I think it was greenlit actually, because he asked me a while back. He goes, "Would you think you'd come back? Could you come back and do a little bit of?" I go, "Yeah, dude, I'll come back."
So that's what I was going to ask you. So your character Frank could return.
Yeah,
great.
And he would use them. I think he would use them sparingly, but significantly. And Gavin's my boy.
I love that.
Gavin gave me, we did Pride and Glory before Warrior, and he's brilliant. He's a thug. Gavin is a 6'4", University of Pennsylvania All-American football player. He was a linebacker. Wow. He was a bad dude.
Yeah.
And he's also a poet.
Dude, that movie. I mean, that movie's just, it really is brilliant. I mean, I love that movie so much.
I agree. I love being part of it. I think Rogan said something negative about it recently too.
Really?
Because they're taking
they're picking apart the sports side of it. They're not taking the movie out of it, the drama of it, the brotherly story. Like, it's brilliant. Anyway, but
I saw that movie was screened for me in New York with one other guy in the theater named Robert De Niro.
Oh,
and so he sat next to me in an empty theater. He sat next to me because he heard the movie was great, and he was looking for somebody to direct he wanted to play Vince Lombardi.
Oh, okay.
And Gavin had directed Miracle, which is the great,
of course, great.
Right?
Yeah.
And next to me is De Niro sobbing.
Oh,
sobbing.
Yeah.
I think maybe this is good.
It's real.
And then he did. He called Gavin and offered Gavin to do Lombardi, and Gavin said, "No, I'm done doing sports movies."
Oh man, that's too bad. But and then because I wonder, because if you could always, I don't know, they're huge now also, but I'm sure they're tight with them too. But I would love to see Hardy and even not fighting obviously, but even if they were on they're on the cans calling a match.
No, look, Gavin's another guy. Gavin is a talent magnet. Joe Carnahan, another guy's a talent magnet. Look. Gavin got Nolte to do this movie with two unknown guys, right? Nobody knew either one of them. And, the studio mismarketed the movie. Nobody really saw it when it came out. And yet still Nick Nolte got an Oscar nomination.
Sure did.
So, Gavin's that guy.
It's great. I'm glad. I'm looking forward to the TV show. And, it's because of Serra, by the way. And I'm mad at myself because I had never watched Kingdom. I had never seen it. I'm 3 episodes in. I fucking love it.
Oh, you just watched it now?
I just started watching it now. I didn't. I can't believe
great.
And when you came on the show, I think the show had already been wrapped. And because when did that show wrap? 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was already wrapped. And I can't. I was so mad. He said that Dana loves Kingdom.
He came to the set.
That's what he said.
Dana and Matt came to the set because they loved the portrayal of MMA and UFC.
Yeah.
And we had all look. I won't tell you how it goes, but I come out of retirement and I fight somebody very famous.
I know who it is. I heard it on the interview. Okay. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. But I love it. I have a new show, and that's the beauty of streaming, also, right? Look at Then now I have a new show.
My girlfriend and I, we have a theater in the house here because I don't leave the house, and every night we're either watching a movie or we'll discover an old TV show that we've never seen.
Yeah.
And we'll go through the whole thing.
It's the best. And I'm so excited. I was so happy with Serra that he to put me onto that. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait. And then I knew you were coming on. I was like, I got to talk to him about Kingdom.
That is great.
It's
man.
awesome.
Yeah, you got to let me know when you're done.
I will. I promise. I will. I absolutely will. You mentioned Carnahan because you guys were doing stuff together for a bit. You're supposed to do the raid. And
yeah, we did. We got the option on the script from Sony. I was supposed to do the raid.
Yes.
With Taylor Kitsch,
and
Anthony Mackie when it was at Sony, and it fell apart. I don't remember why. And then XYZ had it, and they came to me and they said, "Do you want to do this?" And I brought it to Joe, and we just, and I regret it, but we just couldn't get the script right. You know, that original Raid is such a singular movie that it's a tough movie to remake. And I think now my buddy Patrick Hughes, who I did Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard with, I think he's got a version of it that might go. But I personally, I don't need to see the Raid remade. Not with American people.
It's tough. It's tough because it's such a good. And the second one is crazy. The second one is it's almost like a gangster movie, even more so than what the first one is.
I know, it's phenomenal, and so I think they should be left alone. I really, if something is that difficult, to recreate, I think it's telling you something. The movie's telling you something. It's like, we had Byron Belasco was helping us write the script. The guy who wrote Kingdom, we brought him in to help us.
Oh, and he couldn't crack it either.
It was just never there. It was never. We could have made a version of it, but we were like, people aren't going to like
that. Goes back to what you were saying before. The last thing you want to do is put like all the stuff that you love, and then people are like, "Oh, come on, what are you doing?" And you're like, "Shit, we felt that."
Yeah, the things me and Joe have made. We did a movie called Wheelman together, which we produced, and The Gray. It's a great movie. It's a great little movie. Yeah. We did Point Blank with me and Mackie. We did Cop Shop with me and Butler, and then we did Boss Level with me and Mel Gibson and Naomi Watts. So we put out some real solid, all very well reviewed and real solid stuff. And that's what you got to do. You got to make sure you got the right script and you know what you're fucking doing.
Well, and that's why I think that and also the Gray is the other one.
Yeah,
the Gray,
that was him.
That
was him. And he wrote that and directed it. And that's when I really first saw how talented this guy was. He's making a movie with Ben and Matt right now. Okay. He's so the guy he's yet to make his best movie, and he's crazy talented.
He was really fun. He was I think he came in like a month before you did when at Collider when I was there, and I was in awe of him in the way that because he's another. You talk about like as we were talking about with Matt Serra, just a guy who's like, here's how it is. Is what it is. So much so where he's just like, I got to get off Twitter because I'm.
He did have to get off.
Smart. Twitter. I don't blame him.
Sometimes he's his own worst enemy because he says what's on the tip of his tongue. Yeah. But I don't know that I've ever met a guy more talented, and I don't even know if Joe knows how talented he is. I mean, he's wildly underrated, and I think he's been pigeonholed. But this guy's got trophies in him. I mean, he's got trophies in him.
Well, The Gray was one of those movies that it changed my opinion on the way that I saw certain things, because at that point in January, that's when that movie came out. It came out, and I'll remember it very, very clear, because normally I always thought, well, January is where they just put movies. It's like a dumping ground,
right?
And I'm like, and I remember seeing, I'm like, The Gray. I'm like, okay, January movie, here we go. And I was like, holy shit, that movie was fantastic.
Yeah, it's another one like Warrior. There's for men specifically, there's this whole kind of existential journey that these people make, and there's something that connects, it gets in there. It fucking gets in there.
It really does.
And you're like, wow, man, I wasn't. Listen, what is better than going to a film with lower expectations and just being so in it and surprised and just so affected by a movie that you thought, this is why I try to always, like, when I went to see Gladiator 2, I don't want to beat up the movie, but Gladiator 1 is, I think, one of the best movies ever made.
It's a great movie.
I think Russell Crowe in that movie is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think even Joaquin, they're all just brilliant. I mean, Ridley Scott's one of the best ever. And the movie itself I've seen it 30 times.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I'll never watch Gladiator 2 a second time. And I didn't hate the movie. I was just, it didn't do that thing to me.
Sure. I think, what would have been discussed in that movie, because I think I enjoyed it more than most, but I think that with that movie, I can understand from some, I love the first movie. I think it deserves every bit of praise that it gets. It's an Oscar winner. It should be. It's a deep character study. It's emotional. It's everything. This movie, the second one, is a big blockbuster swords and sandals thing. You go shove popcorn in your face and watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when I went to see Godfather 1, And then I heard they made Godfather 2. It was, yeah, I get it. In fact, this might be better than Godfather 1.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yeah.
So it was I'm not expecting, swords and sandals and sharks.
Yeah.
I know. And Paul Mescal, he's one of the hot guys in Hollywood right now. He's a terrific actor, but there's something to be said for, something you can't define or train to become, as a man. And maybe he's just maybe he wasn't ready yet to step into those shoes. Maybe he hasn't lived long enough.
To the way that Russell Crowe just kind of emulated.
Yeah,
right?
man.
Yeah.
Actors like that encompass that kind of character that is bigger than life and mythical.
I'll give you one. I'll give you a guy that does that you just worked with, and that's Stallone. The gravitas alone from that gentleman. And let's end it with this one, because I got to talk to you about Stallone work in Tulsa King, because I like the idea that you're not playing the typical, because I'm half Italian. Right. And so I'm expecting, I hear Frank Grillo is going to be in a mob show. I'm expecting you to be the mafioso that we see, but you're not in this one. This is a very different role. So tell me about when Stallone calls you up, and then the kind of progression of doing Tulsa King season 2.
Yeah. First of all, I knew Sly a little bit. He invited us, Joe and I, up to his house a couple times to watch the fights with, Al Pacino and Sugar Ray Leonard and Arnold, and so I knew him a little bit. Then I had done Homefront with Jason Statham, which Stallone wrote and was going to direct, but he didn't wind up directing it. So he liked what I did in there, and that's our relationship up until I get this phone call, and I had seen Tulsa King. Coincidentally, my girlfriend and I had binged it because I love him so much, and I thought, wow, what a great role for him. This is great fun. It's like Sopranos, and the same guy who wrote Sopranos writes this show. Yes. So I'm in bed Sunday morning. I get a phone call. It's Sylvester Stallone. I'm like, what the fuck? And he goes, hey, you got a minute? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And he kind of says, I got something that I think would be good for you. And I'm all ears. And so he describes this, fourth generation Kansas City mobster. And my first question out of my mouth, I said, do I got to be Tony Soprano? Like, I don't. Because I don't want to do that. Right. I don't want to play that Italian classic stereotypical. He's already doing a version of it that's really good. Right. So I don't want, she goes, no, you don't have to do that. I said, could I wear a cowboy hat? He goes, you can do whatever you want. So I got to kind of create, along with Terrence Winter, who's the writer, and Sly, got to create this guy who was not your typical Italian mafiosa guy, but had the same, if not more, power and gravitas than Sly's character. And the idea that I was going to go head to head with him, and not kind of have to acquiesce to the Stallone of it all, made me fucking excited.
That's great.
And he said, I want you to come and do this. And I first day, I can't lie to you, the first day we show up, we have a fucking 6-page scene, and it's me and him going, the first time our characters are meeting. And the minute he walked out, it wasn't the Sly I knew anymore. It was Rocky. Yeah. It was Rambo.
Yeah.
I'm on set with Stallone. I mean, I don't care who the fuck you are. And I've been on set with a lot of big dudes, a lot of, icons. Yeah. This guy. And in that second, and me and Matty just talked about this. Me and Matty Serra just talked about this. I said, Matt, when you're thinking about the fight with the fucking, with the John Jones guy, right up until you get in the cage. And then you get in the cage and all you see is another guy with his hands up.
Right.
And you go to work.
Yeah.
And that's what it was.
That's
and he
great.
loved that.
I love that.
He loved that, and so I had my opinions and I had my notes. And when I thought something wasn't right, we would do it again. And that became our relationship. And I think that served the character because people seem to have loved me and him together.
Yeah. So are you guys, but on the off takes, because as you mentioned, you're going up to his place to watch the fight. So you can, because he's obviously big boxing guy. Are you guys ever talking about fights on while the cameras are off? Are you talking about that in general, or or are you just talking work?
Oh no, we never talk. We'll talk if what we're doing needs work, the scene needs work. We're talking about, we're bouncing shit back and forth. Mostly we're talking about getting old, our favorite fights. You know, we'll talk. He's like me. He's like an encyclopedia with fights.
Yeah.
We'll talk about fights, fighting. You know, we'll talk about what's going on in the world and our opinions. And, you know, I'll ask him questions about his fucking $1 million watch on his wrist. We'll talk about peptides. You know, we talk about things that old guys talk about. And then, you know, we do this thing now where we don't FaceTime. We do video messaging. And so anytime we talk, we're video messaging each other. So it's like we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of what we want to do next season, we'll talk about that. So it's, brother, it's been a trip.
I'm sure.
Like,
I can't imagine.
You know,
I got the pitch for you, though. Joe Carnahan directing the next Rambo with you and Stallone.
Hey, now there you go.
That'd be great, dude. It was so nice to talk to you. But before I let you go, I need you to yell at me because I got Matt Serra again, a brilliant mind in jiu-jitsu, maybe one of the best. Consistently tells me that he wants me to get into his studio. He wants to train me. He wants me to go, and like I got two young kids, and I've got a lot of work. And I'm trying to get to his studio, and he's always, every time, get in the studio, get in there, come on, it's going to change your life. And I'm like, and I got a former UFC welterweight champion wanting to try.
Brother, not just forget that. He's one of the OG jiu-jitsu professors.
I know.
I mean, it's Matt Serra. It's like, you know, it's like if Marcus Aurelius came back to life and said, hey, come down, I want to talk some philosophy with you.
Right, and I'm like, I got to put my kid to sleep.
I got
find
these
a way.
Kids,
I know.
Really no. He says, just maybe we'll just talk a little bit about ethics. And you're like, nah, but you know, I'm busy with the podcast, brother. You got the best of the best.
I know. I got to get my ass in there.
He's an amazing teacher too.
He's become a really good friend now too. Like I just got and now even more so because I just got him onto this pizza place right now that he's loving. The guy knew who he was, gave him free slice. He loves it even more. Frank, I can't wait to see more what you got going on, man, with DC and everything else too. I'm so excited for people to check this thing out, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thanks, brother. So it's a pleasure always, and you're such a great dude, man. Much love.
Same. Thank you, Frank.
Talk to you soon.
So there you have it, Frank Grillo. How cool is that guy? He's the best. I love Frank Grillo. I mean, from the last time, I got one complaint. And that's what I wasn't sitting there talking to him here. But who cares? Because the guy's great. The guy is great. He's got such a great energy about him. And like I said, and like he said, he knows exactly what he's making when he's making it, whether it goes to stuff from the DC stuff to what Werewolves is to what he did in Warriors stuff. It's a reason why. I said in the beginning, people love Frank Grillo, and I think that interview alone should tell you why. So check out. He's got Creature Commandos going up on Thursday. He's got Werewolves coming out on Friday. He's got Tulsa King up right now on Paramount Plus. All that. I'm watching Kingdom right now, for God's sakes. And then if you haven't seen Warrior, what are you doing with your life? Go see Warrior. Tons of other stuff. The guy's resume is incredible. So that's it. That's the show today. Thanks to Frank Grillo for joining me. Thanks to you guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. Bye.